गुजरत कोकिल हंस संसार सुगन कीर्णे मयूराकुले नाना रत्न निबद्ध मूल विटप श्रीयुक्त वृंद
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class and discussion. And I want to mention, as for some of us, we're fully aware of the fact that these classes are conducted on the basis of Prabhupada's unedited books. In fact, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that we're reading from is from the original Delhi Bhagavatams, which were produced, published, and printed prior to Prabhupada coming to America in 1965, September 19th. He arrived in New York City. The reason I always remember this date is that's my birthday. So it's hard to forget your birthday. And so this is a great day for us that Prabhupada came and delivered the message of freedom, of non-sectarian freedom, which is the basis of Krishna consciousness, that we are focused on a single purpose, to serve the spiritual master in his mission, to deliver the message of Lord Chaitanya. And I wanted to go first to if we could, to a definition of Sanatana Dharma. This Sanatana Dharma principle of the eternal religion is very important for us to understand. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relation with the eternal Supreme Lord. Sanatana Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatan as that which has neither beginning nor end. So when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sri Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process, and he may change his faith and adopt another, but Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor heat can be taken from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatana Dharma is eternally integral with the living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that it has neither beginning nor end. That which has neither end nor beginning must not be sectarian, for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Yet those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatana Dharma is also sectarian, but we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of modern science. It is possible for us to see that Sanatana Dharma is the business of all people of the world, nay, of all living entities in the universe. So this is a very important point that we want to stress today, because within the ISKCON movement, there has been different sects that have appeared, and they have created sectarianism. This is going on. And some people would say, well, that's against the philosophy. Yes, it is. And the reason it's there is because, and the proof is, people in the ISKCON group do not work together. Let's look up the definition of sectarian, if we could. Because sectarianism is something that is very unfortunate for a movement that was meant to be unified under one purpose. Let's see if we can get that. Have you got that, my friend? Yes, here we have. Sectarian, denoting or concerning a sect or sects, ethnic and sectarian differences. A member of a sect, a Jewish sectarian who preached the redemption of the Gentiles. So this sectarianism has spread throughout the mission of Śrīla Prabhupāda. For example, you have Krishna West. Very different than Prabhupada's Sanatana Dharma principle. You have another group, which is the Bliss group from England. This fellow from Canada originally, he's got his own group. It's a sectarian group. It's not unified. We had a different group in the past. We had New Vrindavan. It was a sect. What? With a charismatic cult leader, Keith Ham. And so you have all these different sects, sectarianism within the ISKCON movement. No question. Look, in Christianity, the way sectarianism works. You have Protestants, you have Baptists, you have Catholics. They all have a different point of view in terms of the philosophy of Christianity and the teachings of Lord Jesus Christ. So like that, you have Krishna West, started by Hridayananda, Howard Resnick. Let's refer to him as that. He's certainly not a sannyasi of any form or shape these days. If you've seen pictures of him and videos, I've watched them online. Very interesting. No neck beads, no tilak. In fact, he shuns that. No japa beads. All kinds of different changes to create his own sect. Sectarianism. Very, very bad. And all these groups within the ISKCON group, referring more to them nowadays, they have their own points of view. Radhanath has his own point of view, how things should be. He propagates the opening of hospitals, the opening of his own type of Gurukula, Gopal Krishna, who's passed away. That was his concept, sectarianism. And do these people work together? No, because they're sectarian. This is against the principles of Prabhupada's and Lord Chaitanya's principle of Sanatana Dharma, which would be that we are all working together as the eternal servants of Krishna, not in our own groups, our own specific cults. Yes. Back in the 70s, I was involved full-time in the mission, and we ran across this fellow, Ted Patrick. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He was the head of a deprogramming organization from America. And we had a national story about him in Canada, where he came and stole one of our devotees, Linda Epstein, from the temple in 1974. Oh my God. And it was the front page of the papers throughout Canada. There were hundreds of articles on it. It was like a prime story for a few weeks. And he was trying to make her normal by getting her to watch TV and eat meat and be a normal person. Of course, it didn't work out. But this type of mind groups. There was another group in Canada called COMA. That was another group that we dealt with, the Council on Mind Control, Mental Abuse, COMA. So these people were attacking us, and we defended ourselves. But the ISKCON movement has become a cult. What is a cult? One of the principles of it was you had a charismatic leader, like Kirtananda, a cult. You had Hare Krishna, another cult leader. Tamal Krishna, another cult leader. And someone could say, well, how could you? Because they were not cooperating together. They were in their own little domains. And now it's expanded. Now we have 150 different cults. I was just reading an interesting story about Bhakti Marg Swami, who I introduced Krishna Consciousness to back in 1972. I saw a picture of him. He's flying around. I don't know. He's supposed to be in Canada, but he's in Guyana. And he's talking about his preaching programs, and he says, we want to explain to people why we should accept gays in the Krishna Consciousness movement. Huh? Why would you want to talk about that? Is that anything that Prabhupada wanted us to do? Is teach other people how we should accept gay men or women in the movement? Look, some people may be gay. That's okay. But the principle is not gayism. It is no illicit sex life, whether it's male or female. The principle is celibacy. That's what you preach. I remember I went on a TV show, Yaśodā-nandana, years ago in Toronto, and I really stirred the pot, Ram Raghava. I used the word gayism. Oh my God, the TV just took a blast. They couldn't believe that I used that term gayism. I just made it up back then because there's communism, capitalism. I thought, well, let's have some fun. I'll say gayism. But this gayism, this is something that is permeating through the ISKCON movement. Krishna West, with this Hare Krishna and his friends and his leader, Howard Resnick, they preach this tolerance. It's not so much we want to tolerate, we want to stress the point that we are all parts of the eternal religion, that we are all the eternal servants of God, despite our different understandings of life. I'm a gay man. No, you're not. You're a spirit soul, and you're controlling the senses so that you can fix your mind on Krishna, not on being gay. Why the heck would he do that? Just saw that yesterday. This movement is become cultish. That's what they used to say. Oh, these people, they have a charismatic leader. They couldn't, of course, accuse Prabhupada of doing anything wrong. Prabhupada did not do anything wrong, but they do. And this is the proof that the Krishna consciousness movement that Prabhupada started became destroyed by these gurus, illicit gurus that took over his movement after his departure. And this is a great tragedy, everyone. And the fact of the matter is, you can say that we are fault-finding them, but we are not. We are fact-finding. And the proof is that both Yaśodā-nandana and myself, and some of you others who were parts of the movement back then, we experienced it. We have it in proof. You can believe us or you can deny us, but the truth cannot be denied, and we will not be denied in presenting it to other people. So just know that. And if you don't want to accept it, you know what you can do? There's the door. Right out here. Go follow these other people and see how far you get in terms of accepting these people as so-called gurus. Bona fide Diksha gurus. They are not. We're not going to go through the details right now because it'll take all day. And if you want to study about it, you can go online, you can punch in these things. There's this Henry Dortowski, or I'm trying to think of his name. He's a friend of mine, kind of. And he sent me some of his books, Killing for Krishna and the 11 Emperors and all that. So he has all that documented accurately, very informatively about the history of ISKCON and how it became a cult. Okay? So all glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. I wanted to sort of touch on these topics this morning. We're going to go ahead with the reading of the diaries of Śrīla Prabhupāda back in the 60s. Interesting, eh? And look at this beautiful picture. Now, I sent this to Ram Raghava, who, by the way, thank you, Prabhu, for hosting the program today. He's in our schedule of hosts, and now he's very religiously here on Sundays to be a part of this. He always sends me an email about 8:30. Oh, Prabhu, I was ready today. I thought, I'm going to be ready. I like people that are diligent and focused, because this is a very important part of our sadhana program. And all of you, we would really appreciate you being with us, despite we only have a small number of people that are part of this. It's a tragedy in a certain way, but something we're accepting, but we carry on. Look at the video, the page. You're seeing the budgets. Now, Prabhupada's changed it. See, we're in September. Oh, it's 21st, like that. And Prabhupada's, he's focusing specifically, he's monitoring his income and expenses. I was explaining to my friend this morning that this is I became aware of this when I went to Mohawk College and studied business administration, how important the tracking of money is, and how Prabhupada, as an Indian gentleman, as a scholar, and a businessman, was very meticulous about every penny. This is unfortunately not there in this cult movement, these different cult movements. But you see all the specific income and expenses here. And look at this beautiful picture of Prabhupada there. So majestic. And look at his costume. He did not ever change to the Western dress. He always maintained chadar and Kirta and Sannyasi Dodi, and always with a bead bag. Much different than the cult leader, Howard Resnick. No tilak, no neck beads, no danda, and he calls himself a Goswami. How bogus can you be? Okay, so we'll go over to Thursday, September 22nd. So he's got his accounts there. It says there, there's $1 for this and 30 cents for that, and a balance of 4 boys. Bruce, Charles, Steve, and Keith were initiated with Harinam. So here, Donald sent some apples by post, thank you. So the 4 people are Brahmananda Prabhu, Achyutanandana Prabhu, yeah, Satsrup Prabhu, and Kirtanananda Prabhu. And look at, out of 4, 2 are gone, Keith Ham, and Brahmananda, unfortunately. That's how I got this diary. He came to my house here in the 90s, and I was happy to purchase them, and they're really valuable. Achyutananda, he's in obscurity somewhere in Florida, and Satsrup has gone pretty much crazy. If you look at his artwork and his constant dribble about him being an author, you'll see it as manifested. And look at this beautiful picture of Prabhupada in the early days. Very simple environment. So majestic and focused on what he was doing. September 23rd. Yeah, there we are. We got subs. So again, the accounts are there. They don't bother listing them, but they're there. You see it. We'll show that. Today, a visa office sent their decision not to extend further to me to stay. So this becomes a real problem for Śrīla Prabhupāda because of legal matters in terms of immigration. All the members are startled. So he's gaining momentum, but the people that are around him are concerned. Well, what are we going to do if Prabhupada leaves? They want me to stay, he says. We went to perform kirtan out of New York City at Mishra's ashram, arranged by Green, and it was nice. We are invited by the Ananda ashram. Let's see the next picture. I think I showed the writing. Look at, again, I wanted you to see the writing. This is, just to see it is a blessing. To see the documented facts of Prabhupada's work back then. In September 23rd, 1966. And moving forward here, we got September 24th. Again, let's see. Okay, that's the 23rd. Go to the 24th. And here we have, up there, you see Prabhupada's documenting his income and expenses again. So he's really shifting his focus in a different way into making members, initiating people. He's getting momentum. Remember, he came with no money, no followers, no help, completely isolated in a demoniac Kali Yuga, New York City. And now, after 2 years of activity, he's starting to get going. Determination, absolute conviction. September 25th, look at that. There you see. Actually, it's only a year. And look at this beautiful picture of Prabhupada that I sent. Yeah, look at that. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to fix this lighting. I apologize for that, everyone. The production imperfection. But nonetheless, we're seeing Prabhupada marching forward in the propagation of Krishna consciousness with his diligent activities. There's a better picture of him. So you can meditate on that and see him so serious, methodical, and committed to pleasing his spiritual master. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, and that's our goal, all of us in our group. And we are not a sectarian group. We are a group, let's see what we got here. We are a group committed to protecting the legacy of Śrīla Prabhupada in his books, in his tapes, in his lectures, in his bhajans, and in his instructions. And I've talked to our Rupa Goswami today, how we're going to stage this in our new channel that we're going to be launching in due course, the 24-hour streaming channel of Krishna conscious truth to everyone in the globe. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by Śrīla Prabhupada, so chant along. And then after, we're looking forward to the discussion and the reading with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu in California. All glories to the Sankirtan movement.
Sai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasa Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the author, from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As we do every week, we will recite a few selected verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself, from the first canto, second chapter, explaining the meaning and the transcendental benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Yadanudhyasena yuktaha karma grantini bandhanam chindanti kovidastasya kona kuryat kataratim. Intelligent persons do cut off the internet of the knot of reactionary work by remembrance of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not give an attention to his message? Shushrushoho Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchihi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done. And as the result of such great service, affinity in the messages of Vasudeva is made possible. Shrinvatam svakataha Krishnaha punyasravana kirtana hridyantastoya badrani vidhunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashtaprayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalo bhadayaschaye chetaye terana viddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the natures, motive, passion, and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in a mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in a mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Next. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshaya kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishwari. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced, and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated along with the seeing of oneself, the dominating factor. So we will read our verse today. We are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 6, text number 16. It should be noted that all synonyms, translation, and purports are from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Dhyayatos charanam bhujam bhavarnirjita chetasa utkanta ashrukala akshin hridyasit meshaner hari. Dhyayatos, thus meditating upon charanam bhujam, lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, localized. Bhavanarjita, mind transformed into transcendental love for the Lord. Cetasa, all mental activities, thinking, feeling, and willing. Utkanta, eagerness. Ashrukala, tears rolled down. Akshya, of the eyes. Hridi, within my heart. Asit, appeared. Me, mine. Shaner, without delay. Hari, the personality of Godhead. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, with my mind transformed into transcendental love, tears rolled down from eyes, and after that, the Lord personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. Purport by His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupāda. The word bhava is significant here. This bhava stage is attained after transcendental affection for the Lord. The first initial stage is called shraddha, or liking for the Supreme Lord, and in order to increase that liking, one is to associate with pure devotees of the Lord. The third stage is to practice the prescribed rules and regulations in the matter of devotional service, and this will perfect in dissipation of all sorts of misgivings and removal of all personal deficiencies in the matter of progress in devotional service. When all misgivings and personal deficiencies are removed, there is a standard fate in the transcendental matter, and the taste for it increases in greater proportion. This stage leads to attraction, and after this there is bhava, or the prior stage of unalloyed love for God. All the above different states are but different stages of development of transcendental love. The mind being surcharged with transcendental love, there is strong feeling of separation, which leads 8 different kinds of ecstasies. Tears from the eyes of a devotee is an automatic reaction of such separation. And because Sri Nārada Muni in his previous birth attained that stage very quickly after his departure from home, it was quite possible for him to perceive actual presence of the Lord, which he tangibly experienced by his developed spiritual senses without any material tinge. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Bhagavad Vandana Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Shiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Vishesataham Adadana Strinam Dante Ridam Yache Punaha Punaham Śrīmad Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Preshta Sadkaromi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this purport, we have a very important description of the gradual systematic stages of attaining bhava and prema, or love of Godhead. It is not a useless sentiment or an emotional sentiment as described by doubters and sentimentalists. It is a systematic process. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada quotes many times from Śrīla Rupa Goswami, the author of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, translated by Śrīla Prabhupāda, as the nectar of devotion, which give the scientific approach to understanding the entire process of bhakti, by which one can revive this dormant stage of love of Godhead. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, it is described, Nitya Siddha Krishna Siddha Prema Sadhya Kabunoi. There's no artificial process to revive this original Krishna Prema. How is this done? By hearing Shravanadi Shuddha Chitti Karayudoi. Shravan Adi. In Sanskrit, this means by the beginning process of hearing and chanting and the other processes of devotional service recommended in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this will naturally arise. And this was seen when we first went to India. There was a lot of criticism from various Brahmins, caste Goswamis, professional pundits, and others say, oh, Westerners and women, they cannot be Vaishnavas. They cannot be Brahmins. But Prabhupada proved them wrong. We see in the Vedic literature, such as the Skanda Purana, Janmana Jayati Shudraha. samskarat bhavet dvijaha, that in the age of Kali Yuga, everyone is born as a Shudra. So this false claim that people are born in a Brahmin family automatically by some birthright or hereditary right, this makes them Brahmana. This is a falsehood. This is not correct. This is a false interpretation of the Shastras, of the spiritual injunction. Śrīla Prabhupāda used to often quote, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, which is an exact same variation of the same basic fundamental scriptural text, that in the age of Kali, everyone is born as a Shudra. So how does one become a Dvija, or twice born, or Brahmana? By samskara, by following the authorized process of samskara. Now it very well be that in previous age, the Dwapara Yuga, where the Vedic principles were still being followed better than in Kali Yuga, yes, in those ages, those who were born in Brahmin families were very qualified. But in Kali Yuga, it is very different. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not start this movement on the basis of discrimination. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here, he was criticized by the Brahmanas, the caste Brahmanas of Navadvip. They did not like that he was chanting publicly, and they went to the Qazi. They complained, oh, he's spoiling the Hindu religion by chanting the name of Hari publicly. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proved by starting the Sankirtan movement, by engaging all kinds of persons, irregardless of birth or social position or status, in the service of Krishna. We all know the story of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was called Yavan Haridas. Yavana means Mohammedan, Muslims. So he was declared a Yavana, but yet he was elevated to the position of Namacharya, the exemplary spiritual preceptor of chanting the name of Krishna, the greatest devotee. We all know, Prabhupada said that he was chanting 300,000 names per day. That's like chanting 20 hours a day. He was not allowed, when he lived in Jagannath Puri, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, because they had been in the service of the Muslim rulers of Bengal, they were not allowed to go inside the Jagannath Puri temple. Haridas Thakur was never allowed to go inside the temple. So what happened? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, used to come and see him every day. He used to do his chanting, his sadhana under the Siddha Bokul tree in Jagannath Puri. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very fond of Haridas Thakur. We have all heard the story that when Haridas Thakur departed his body, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself took his body and he went to the ocean there in Jagannath Puri. He dipped his body in the ocean and personally performed the Samadhi ceremony. The Samadhi of Haridas Thakur, which was installed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, is still there in Jagannath Puri near the ocean. So this is the exalted position of somebody who was born not in a Vaishnava family, not in a Brahmana family, not in a Hindu family, but he was born in a family Bahirvarna, outside of the Vedic institution. But yet, because he was such an exalted devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself used to come and see him. Very special position. In the Chaitanya Bhagavata, there's a very famous statement where Haridas Thakur said, when you chant japa, that is very beneficial for yourself. But when you do kirtan, loud kirtan, every living entity is benefited. The animals, the birds, the insects, the cats, the dogs, everybody is benefited. Recently, we had a neighbor who came here. She brought her little dog. And I started to chant Hare Krishna, and the dog stood on his two legs and started to dance. Now, we don't know what he was in his previous life. Whatever he was, by hearing the name of Krishna, some way or other, he felt enlivened. So, of course, one is not supposed to allow dogs in the house, but we made an exception for this lady. She's a very pious lady, nice lady. She has read Bhagavad Gita, very sympathetic to the devotees. So the point is that Haridas Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavata clearly said that all living entities are benefited, not just humans, but even animals, the birds, the beasts, the reptiles, everybody is benefited. This is the power of the name of Krishna. After reciting Shukadev Goswami, after reciting the entire 12 cantos of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he described to Maharaj, oh, very nice, Rupa Goswami Prabhu, oh, very nice. He has made that quote here. If you chant loudly Hare Krishna, even the ants and insect who is hearing, he'll be delivered because it is spiritual vibration. It will act for everyone. We, just like fire, the fire will act. Either you are a human being or insect. If you touch fire, it will do its work. Similarly, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is transcendental vibration. When we chant loudly, anyone who hears, it doesn't matter whether he's man, animal, tree, insect, anyone who will hear, he'll get profit. This is transcendental vibration. Just like when there is, not to speak of this transcendental vibration, even the vibration of cloud, that is also Krishna. I don't know what the reference here, but here we go. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Shabdake Parusham Rinam, Rasoham Apsukanteya, Prabhasmi Shasi Suryayaho, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 8. So animal has no realization that here is Krishna. But a human being, after attending Satsanga, Devotees Association of the devotees, he can understand, oh, here I am drinking water. Now in the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Rasoham Apsukanteya. So this taste of water is Krishna. He remembers immediately Krishna. That means he immediately associates with Krishna. This is the process. Either you remember Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 7, 5:23. Anyway, when you hear about Krishna, you are associating Krishna. You are chanting about Krishna. You are associating with Krishna. You are remembering Smaram. That is also Krishna. So this from the Nectar of Devotion lecture, Bombay, January 4th, 1973. So this is the meaning, the power of the name of Krishna. Because the process of bhakti begins, like it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shravana Adi. Adi means the other processes of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Padyam, Atmanivedanam. But the process begins with submissive oral reception. And even if one is not submissive, still one will feel the effect. One will feel the effect. Several times devotees used to go on Sankirtan, and devotees would make fun of devotees. They would laugh at devotees. Sometimes they will insult the devotees. And when it was brought to Prabhupada, even they will be benefited. Even those who make fun will be benefited. There's an interesting statement in the Padma Purana, also quoted by Śrīla Prabhupāda. There's two Sanskrit words. It says Shraddhaya Elayava. Shraddhaya means with faith. Helaya means joking or not serious chanting. Still, one is benefited. This is the power of the name of Krishna. So in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, when Shukadev Goswami was telling Maharaj Parikshit the entire 12 cantos, at the end, he described to him, Kalir dosha nidhi rajan astiyako mahan gunaha, that this age of Kali, is an ocean of fault. Kaler doshanide. Doshanide means ocean of faults. Astiye ko mahan guna, but there is one great quality. Well, what is that? Kirtanadiva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Parambrajet. Oh, here we go. One can go to the supreme planet, Parambrajet, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. This is especially meant for the people of this age, Kaler Doshanide. It is the special advantage of this age that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become purified of all material contamination and return home back to Godhead. There is no doubt about this. From Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, text number 48. Very important verse. This Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the special benediction in this age that was brought. This is described in the Vedas, in the Kali Santarana Upanishad, but it was made popular by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who engaged in the Sankirtan chanting wherever he went and made millions of people, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people chant Hare Krishna. And in the bona fide disciplic succession, as exemplified, here we go. This is Prabhupada quoting the Kali Santarana Upanishad in the Adi Lila, chapter 3, text 40. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmasha Nasanam Nata Parataropayaha Sarvavideshu Drishyate. After searching through all the Vedic literature, one cannot find a method of religion more sublime for this age than the chanting of Hare Krishna. Now, this is very important. When we were preaching in South India, very frequently we would quote that verse to dispel any doubts that the chanting of Hare Krishna was a bona fide Vedic process. In South India, there are many Smartas, Mayavadis, Shivites, and many Vaishnavas. And many of them are very addicted to various ritualistic processes. But this chanting of Hare Krishna is the ultimate ritualistic process to achieve the perfection. And we see in this section of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, our Nārada Muni, by engaging in the process of bhakti and meditating upon Krishna, one of the bona fide processes of devotional service, that he developed the transcendental bhava stage. And Prabhupada is explaining in this purport all the different transcendental process of bhakti. In the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he's written a book called Madhurya Kadambini, where he systematically explains, breaks down the entire processes of bhakti, all the different parts of bhakti, all the way from beginning, ado, a little bit of faith, shraddha, all the way to what is called sakshatkar, or directly seeing Krishna face to face, the entire process of bhakti, which is the same process that Rupa Goswami Prabhupada has described in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and the same process that our Śrīla Prabhupada has described throughout his books. All we have to do is engage in this process of Shravanam Kirtanam and engage nicely in that transcendental service. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, hold on here. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for that wonderful explanation of today's verse and purport. Exquisite, actually. And I wanted to further comment that based on the purport today, Prabhupada is telling us how we have to make advancement by gradual application to the process. That the first initial stage is Shraddha, then there's association with pure devotees, Śrīla Prabhupada and his disciples, absolutely. And then practice of the prescribed duties and regulations in the matter of devotional service. And this will perfect in dissipation all sorts of misgivings and removal of all personal deficiencies in the matter of progress in devotional service. So, the most important thing to do in terms of becoming successful is what? What is the most important thing to become successful in any application that you undertake in life? Well, the answer is you have to start. It's like people say to me in real estate, well, how do I become a real estate entrepreneur? Well, the first thing is you have to buy your first property. If you don't have a first property, how can you get to 2? If you get to 2, how do you get to 3? You have to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to buy 25 properties to get to a certain level of material success. But the first step is, I always advise people, buy your first property. If you don't buy it, you can't get to the second one. So any kind of success is based on to start the process and then to apply yourself accordingly. Now, what did Prabhupada say about this application to Krishna consciousness in this lifetime? You start. And how long are you supposed to stay in this process? Well, devote this whole life to it. Now, someone would say, my God, that's a long time. Well, in a certain sense it is, but when you speak about time, I was preaching to a friend of mine this morning, there are 4 aspects of time. Past, some people live in the past. They don't live in the present. Living in the past is not living at all. Then there's the present. Then there's the future. They're dreaming about the future. And then the 4th aspect is eternal time. You live in eternal time. And that is the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion, as we talked about earlier in the program. And you stick to this process your whole life. I used to be shocked back in the 70s when I heard that from Prabhupada. He would say, well, you have to devote your whole life. I was like, geez, that's a long time. But here I am, 77 years old, and the time has flown by. And many of us are in our senior years, our last segment of life. But was it a mistake? Some people will say, well, you joined the movement when you were 22 years old, and you put all this time and energy into this mission. Did you waste your time? Well, if I had stayed in the particular fields that I was following back then up till now, my whole life would be 0. Has no value. The only value you have in your life is the amount of time that you devote to this process of Krishna consciousness. This is the only valuable possession. And also, Prabhus, if you can share this with other people, this is also very valuable. Like oftentimes you meet people in the supermarket or you meet them in social matters. If you can get them to chant Hare Krishna once, how much benefit is that for them? They're eternally benefited. Like Yaśodā-nandana commonly explains to us, Prabhupada would teach us, if you can get them just to hold the book, the Bhagavatam, or keep it in their house, they're getting some benefit from that. And the people that do that for other people, they get blessed. That's the highest service that you can render for Krishna, is to give Krishna to other people. So this sticking to the cause, to the process, It's called stickability. Not give up the ship because of your false ego. See yourself as a spirit soul, a part and parcel of Krishna. See yourself as the servant of Śrīla Prabhupāda, not our servant. You can serve other people, that's fine. I love to serve the mission that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has, which is to protect Prabhupada's legacy. I want to follow him. I, of course, feel that I don't want to say it, but I can't help it. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is an inspiration for the whole planet. Absolutely. And if you're a part of this, like we had a Prakrita in Montreal, he was also a inspiration for all of us by his commitment to the Sankirtan mission in his own personal life. So Krishna consciousness means association with the pure devotee and with his disciples, the bona fide disciples. And Prabhupada is blessing us. Look, think about it. Someone wants to be a lawyer. Do you become a lawyer overnight, Ram Raghava? Or in your particular situation, you have a couple of degrees. Now you're practicing medicine. How do you do it? Do you just all of a sudden put up a plaque on your door and say, I'm a doctor? I don't think so. How many years you have to go to school and go through the austerity of studying all that information that enables you to qualify to be a doctor. They don't allow it. Especially in Canada and America, it's very difficult. If you have a degree from another country and you come to Canada, you have to restudy the whole thing just so you meet the standards or qualifications of this particular society. They don't allow people to just do this. You have to be qualified. So someone is thinking, I want to see God. Oh, you want to see God, eh? What's the qualification? The qualification is total surrender, 1,000%. It's interesting, the other night, I had my headphones on, I was checking YouTube, and I fell asleep, and then this Christian program came on my headphones while I was sleeping. And I was in this half-conscious state, and I'm hearing them preach. Oh, you have to read the Bible over and over and over and over again. You have to constantly hear this philosophy of the Bible. And I'm thinking, gee, that's the same as what we say. You have to always hear this philosophy in association with devotees. Always. Nasta prayeshu abradeshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. These beautiful verses that Yaśodā-nandana, constantly applying yourself. Don't give up this effort, ever. It's not a one-day process to qualify to meet Krishna. It's not a one-day process where you'll understand Guru Tattva and understand Prabhupada is the bona fide representative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest preacher in the history. For us, the greatest preacher in the history of the world. Well, what do you mean, Vishva? How could you say that? Well, by the grace of modern technology, we have captured his life story, and it's represented to us in real time, even now in 2025, already 2025. You have to be qualified. How much do you have to chant? Well, you have to chant at least 27,000 names of Krishna a day, every day, for your whole life. That's minimum 16 rounds. And Prabhupada said you should read his books 1 or 2 hours a day. Is he just saying it for the sake of it? Oh yeah, you should do it. And you ignore? Oh no, I won't. It's hard for us to do that because of our schedules, possibly. But you can put a lecture in the car. You can listen on the tapes. They're very enlightening, so inspiring. You can go to the YouTube channel that we've created. You can go to the classes. We're going to create that. And in this way, stay focused. This is the way you become successful here. There is no sort of faking it. That's what some people do. They fake it till they make it. That's like the ISKCON gurus. They just fake it. This is a serious process of disciplining. And, thank you, Yaśodā-nandana. And Prabhupada really explained it so beautifully today in the purport, the different stages up to the stage of Baba. And I'm, of course, reading in the Nectar of Devotion all of these aspects of making advancement in spiritual life. And if you study Nectar of Devotion, it's very difficult to understand Nectar of Devotion. But Yaśodā-nanda always tells us, if you don't understand it, Prabhupada told us, if you don't understand this philosophy after reading it, then keep reading. Don't stop. I'm already thinking myself, Ram Raghava, that I'm so, neophyte, that after reading this Nectar of Devotion, I'm going to have to read it again because I don't get it. It's such a wonderful, transcendental message from Krishna, so auspicious, so enlightening, that this fallen soul is going to have to read it again and again and again and again. And maybe by the grace of the Lord, all of us may get a deeper understanding of this philosophy. We should be confident of it, Yasha Devi, that we should be confident that if we apply ourselves to this process, we will be successful by the mercy of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yaśodā-nandana, if you could further elaborate.
When the Nectar of Devotion was published in 1970 in Los Angeles, and when devotees started to read this, it was pretty complex. Because up to that time, we had the Ishopanishad teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Bhagavad Gita, and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam first canto. And as devotees started to read this, they realized this is very, very involved. This is a book with a lot of detail, a lot of systematic explanation of the process of bhakti. So some senior devotees, some leaders went to see Śrīla Prabhupāda and asked him, Prabhupada, when we read this book, if we don't understand something, what should we do? Prabhupada said, you read it again. So then devotees ask him, well, even if we read it again, what if we still can't understand what it says? And Prabhupada said, if you read it again and again, eventually you will understand. So basically, this is the basic fundamental approach that Prabhupada had. Just like Śrīla Prabhupada told one devotee lady, Ujjvala Devi Dasi, she was Jai Tirtha's first wife. When she got initiated, she asked Śrīla Prabhupada, what is the meaning of this word Ujjvala? What is that? And Prabhupada told her that this is one of the most elevated stages of love of Godhead. And if you chant your 16 rounds every day and follow the regular principles, in this lifetime, you will achieve that elevated stage of love of Godhead. So this is a very important point, because sometimes devotees, they want to take shortcuts. They want to jump. Just like in India, there are those people that want to go to the, what you call the Rasa Leela. They want to jump to the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. So they want to get the nectar right away. They have what's called Bhagavat Saptaha. They'll have a 7-day recitation of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, all is Sanskrit, the speed read, the whole thing. Or else they'll jump to the section of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam of the Rasa Leela with the gopis. And Prabhupada condemned that. He says, this is not the recommended process. Every day when we have this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class or reading and discussion, we read that verse, Nashta prayeshu avabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. By constant service, constant hearing of the Bhagavatam, and constant service of the Bhagavata devotees, Bhagavata, especially the pure devotee. This is the process, not this artificial jumping like sahajiyas and show bottle professional gurus. This is very important, because now we see a tendency of devotees wanted to take shortcuts, looking for a silver bullet that's going to make them jump very quickly to the highest level very quickly without following the normal process. We have seen in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself how Śrīla Prabhupada says the process is to read the Bhagavatam, the first canto, second canto, third canto, and eventually one will become self-realized by the time he gets to the 10th canto. So this is a very important process, and it is a bona fide process. One should not shortcut the process. Just like if one wants to go to medical school or engineering school or accounting school, there's a whole process. There's a 4 or 5 years of course, or even more, a long period of study with a systematic training that they undergo. Then they have exams, then they pass the exam, then they're licensed. And even after that, they go through a period of apprenticeship of training. It's not that one just jumps straight from high school and becomes a surgeon or becomes an accountant, or he's going to design an airport or a big building. It doesn't work that way. That is not the process. Similarly, in spiritual life, one can feel enlightened by hearing the name of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, but it is recommended to follow the process properly. Nil Shamar Prabhu has given that nice verse from Bhagavad Gita. I want to read this. Tesham satara yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. Prabhupada translate, to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is the process. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Okay, there we go. Very much so. It's called stickability. You have to stick to the process and have faith in the process that you will achieve the desired result in due course. Now think about it, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. If there's a factor called eternal time, which there is, that means it may take many births to understand this process. Is that a curse or a blessing? Well, it's a blessing because you're on the path back home, back to Godhead. Now, Prabhupada did say to us that if you devote your life to this, then he'll take us back to Godhead by his mercy. But you still have to surrender. And that is everything, not partial. People, we sit in this world of mediocrity. But this is not a mediocre process. The opportunity is enormous. In other words, for a small amount of effort, you get a tremendous result. It's like investing. You can invest in something. What are you trying to do when you invest money in a project? You're trying to make millions and millions of dollars. You're not trying to make a few dollars. You're trying to make as much as you can. So in the same way, the investment of time, which is our most valuable asset, your time is the essence of your life. What you do with your time. Do you waste your time? In the material world, money is time. Time is money. That's the expression. In this particular process, the investment of time in Krishna consciousness, in the mission of Lord Chaitanya, in the mission of the Hare Krishna Society, is the best use of your time and energy. Tell me something that's more valuable. Can you think of it, Rochicha Devidasi? Anything more valuable than coming to these classes 3 times a week? Well, what would you have if those classes weren't here? What would you do? Well, you could read on your own, okay. You could still use your time in many different ways. But this is also an asset because it gives us association with like-minded Vaishnavas. Unfortunately, we're not assembled in an institutional environment, but we're assembled in an environment of the cultivation of transcendental knowledge based on Prabhupada's incarnation in his Vani presence. And there's nothing more valuable in that. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Maybe you could share some insights today from your desk.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you. It was very interesting. We spoke about the endurance that somebody has to have over a period of many months and many years and many lifetimes to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. And this idea of Guru Kripa is very rare. Someone may get, like in the Shastra, some kind of benediction from the Guru or from Krishna without following all the rules very strictly. But that's very, very rare. So we're all engaged in this long process of sadhana. But I had a question. Say for example, when Prabhupada was here, somebody would take formal initiation. There would be a letter coming from Prabhupada to the temple president, and various local Brahmins, local Vaishnavas would take part in the ceremony, and Prabhupada would be the eternal preceptor guru. And the whole arrangement worked really, really well. But now here we are in year 2025. If someone takes a formal initiation from Śrīla Prabhupada, again, some local Brahmin or priest will perform the ceremony, give a lecture, give the name. So my question is, what obligation should the new candidate have to the priest who's performing the ceremony? Because this relates to, like on Thursday, we had our class and someone took formal initiation recently, and there was some kind of question. He was devotee was in the class on Thursday. So if you could mention something about that, what obligations should someone have who's a new candidate for initiation to the person who's performing the initiation ceremony?
Well, let's put it this way. The position of Diksha Guru is the real purpose of the initiation. You're committing your life to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Now, etiquette would be that you would give thanks to the person that performs the ceremony for them. But they are simply acting as agents for the spiritual master. They're not the Diksha Guru. There's etiquette. The etiquette is natural. Even in the material world, you give etiquette to other people that help you. Whatever you're doing, you always give etiquette. You give etiquette to your parents, if you have parents. My son is very respectful to me. When he comes to visit occasionally, he'll open the door. I appreciate it all the time. So you give etiquette, but commitment to the spiritual master is the issue. Etiquette is natural, unless you're an animal. Give etiquette. What
if somebody is maybe involved in some international organization and they might expect you to be part of that organization also, or something like that? Can you mention something about that?
Some internet. Yaśodā, what would you want to say to that?
Well, Prabhupada started a society. The society was founded on certain basic fundamental principles, certain rules, certain regulations, certain basic principles to keep the society united for the purpose of preaching the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, when Prabhupada analyzed the breakdown of the Gaudiya Math institution, in his poetry in the late 1950s and early 1960s in India. At one of his poetry, he mentioned that the tigress of Pratishta, or the desire for name and fame, was responsible for this division in the mission, that so many different factions were created. And Śrīla Prabhupada wanted to avoid the same phenomena occurring in his society. That's why Prabhupada wanted devotees to stay within the society and engage in the preaching mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But unfortunately, this is not what happened. So the process of initiation is the beginning process. And the dedication is to hear from the Acharya, the bona fide supreme authority in spiritual masters, which is Śrīla Prabhupada. Just like when during Prabhupada's manifested presence, different temple presidents, sannyasis, GBCs, senior devotees conducted the fire sacrifice or the different ceremonials for the initiation, the chanting on the beads, the choosing of the name, the official fire sacrifice itself. But the understanding was that the devotee being initiated was a follower, a student, and a disciple of Śrīla Prabhupada. All Prabhupada did is choose representative to continue that process. This bogus nonsense idea, unproven idea, that Prabhupada appointed some successors who independently would become Diksha Guru, this has created the disaster in the society. The whole society was practically burnt to ashes. They illegally divided the society, claimed false proprietorship over the zone, installed this nonsense idea that they were the successor, therefore there should be worship, big thrones, pranam mantras. Where did Prabhupada, in the last few months of his manifested presence, ever describe this new so-called guru appointment process? Nowhere. Prabhupada wanted the society to remain united because it's more effective for the preaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So the responsibility of the devotee is to worship the Acharya. The Acharya is Śrīla Prabhupada. This is basically how we view it. Not this nonsense idea of somebody claiming he's appointed. They jump on their trampoline and they demand worship in Prabhupada's temple. Now, if somebody wants to start their own group or their own separate sampradaya, that's something else. That's always the prerogative. But that was not Prabhupada's instruction to his devotees. In 1977, let me give you an example. I was in Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada asked the late secretary to come close to his bed, and another devotee, prominent leader from Mayapur, and he told them, please do not turn my institution like the Catholic Church or the Gaudiya Math. What did the Gaudiya Math do after Bhaktisiddhanta departed? What did they do? Immediately they started fighting. Who is the Acharya? Who owns this? Who owns that? Same thing that happened in our movement. It was very nice for the meeting at Mayapur in 1978, and immediately all hell broke loose. They went back to their zone. They introduced this bogus idea that there should be Vyāsasanas, pictures on the altar, separate worship, separate this, separate that. Where did Prabhupada set this up? Nowhere. And gradually, all the temple presidents were gradually removed. Older devotees were gradually removed. It became like a cult, 11 separate cults. So the duty of the person who's taking that initiation is to focus on hearing and worshiping Śrīla Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Absolutely. And this is an unfortunate situation that has evolved after Prabhupada's disappearance. And it's common that this goes on in many groups. And we want to make sure that people understand the facts. Nilesh Sharma, you have a question for Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. There you are. Go ahead.
You can't hear?
Yeah. Unmute him, please, Rupa Goswami.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I have a suggestion. Listening to the tail end of this particular discussion is that when we address senior leaders, we need to call them as senior leaders. why do we call them senior devotees? Now, are they senior Kanishta Adhikaris? Are they senior Madhyam Adhikaris? Or are they senior Uttam Adhikaris? Because devotees can be senior or junior depending on their realization and depending on their surrender to Krishna and Śrīla Prabhupāda or the Acharya. They can be senior leaders. You know, many a times we use these words interchangeably, which can confuse somebody else, because devotees are only of three categories: Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttama Adhikari. Okay? And that depends on how attracted they are to the material attachments, especially adoration, distinction, and profit. If they are after these three things, we know definitely they are not in the Uttama Adhikari, because Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kanshati samasta sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim lavate param. My devotional service is the greatest profit. So when somebody has given Rolexes to Prabhupada, he has accepted it and again given it up also. Because why? Because Prabhupada has proven to us that Mad Bhaktim, devotional service to Krishna, is the biggest or the highest profit. Labhate param, labha, profit, param, highest profit. You know, so we need to address them as senior leaders. If they are senior devotees, then they should show it by the examples of senior devotees like Uttamadhikari or Madhyamadhikari. You know, it is so nicely said by Vishwakarma Prabhu that even after 50 years in this movement, he calls himself a Kanishta Adhikari. You know, see the self-reflection. No, the idea is to see the self-reflection, that how prominent am I, or how eminent am I in my surrender to Krishna and in my surrender to Śrīla Prabhupada. You see, so this is where the idea has to be taken up, and we need to be very careful of using these such words, you know. And then talking about what are we doing as far as what you call in this particular sessions is chapter 10, text 9 of the Bhagavad Gita comes to my mind. Mat chitta mat gata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantas cha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The translation of chapter 10, text 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwells in me. Everybody is thinking about Krishna, but who is Krishna thinking about? You see, their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Just like how we are doing over here. We are not talking about who is a greater person, who is a lesser person. We are all struggling jivas. We all recognize that part. You see? Now, somebody's realizations are much more like Vishwakarma, like Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu's. What do? They are enlightening us with conversations of Krishna or Śrīla Prabhupada, who is the pure representative. So let us be careful who we call senior devotees. We need to call them either senior leaders or senior people in the movement, but senior devotees are only those who are Uttam or Madhyam Adhikaris, or we need to be very clear about that part. I would love to know what Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has to say. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'll have Yaśodā speak. I wanted to comment as well. A lot of times when we use the word senior, we mean old man. You're an old man, you're a senior. That's what they say. You're a senior citizen. You're broken. Your legs are damaged. Your brain is dementia, like that. You don't know what you're doing. So this seniority means simply by age. But at the same time, when we refer to the term senior, we're talking about people that were in the early years, they were members, like a Rupanuga, for example, and now he's a senior devotee by age, not by realization. Seniority means by realization, absolutely. You're 100% right, Prabhu. And, you know, personally, I love it when our so-called young devotees, the new devotees, show their excellence in understanding this philosophy. Like you'll hear me I take great pleasure in it when I can say Bhakta Ran Singh. I love that. Any of these devotees that are so-called new devotees that understand our philosophy. Recently, I mentioned it the other day in a talk, that I had somebody sending me all these posts on Telegram, these philosophy, and I'm thinking, geez, I'm getting just rained on all these posts. And I sent him, who is this? He says who he is. And I said, by the way, how old are you? And he goes, 17 years old. Oh. Now, how did I feel? I was overjoyed. I thought, 17, this is exactly what we want. People that are 17 that are showing exemplary commitment to this philosophy and the practice of it. So really, our process is based on the practical application of the people that are in it. And that will show their seniority, their seniority in this process, not the age. This point of senior devotee, means old man. You're an old man. Doesn't mean you're surrendered. It means you've been around for a long time and you may not be surrendered at all. But the new person understands the philosophy and they're ready to step up and serve, and they demonstrate it. Like Jayananda, he demonstrated that he was a senior devotee, a prakrita. He demonstrated, and seniority in means of realization. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
There's a conversation in the Prabhupada Conversation book where Prabhupada is discussing what is the Kanishtha-adhikari, and Prabhupada says the Kanishtha-adhikari means a fixed up Brahmin. So let's not fool ourselves to classify devotees artificially. When a lot of time when we say senior devotees, we really are referring to senior managers who at some point had some managerial position in ISKCON. They did some nice service in the beginning, and proper recognition should be there for the good service people did. But after 1977, it was a very different story. There's an article that I compiled called Uttam Adhikaris or Uttam Aparadis. It's actually in the internet on the Prabhupada Nuga EU website, we're basically analyzing Śrīla Prabhupāda's definition of what is an Uttam Adhikari, comparing that to some of the outlandish statements and outrageous statements that were made by some of these so-called senior devotees, and people basically can make their own judgment on what is the position. And the reason is, in order to judge who is really a senior devotee in the devotional line, or it has nothing to do with men or women or managerial position or how many years one has been a devotee or whether one has such and such title. It has to do with devotion and surrender to the spiritual master and spiritual advancement and attachment to Krishna in the process of bhakti. Because there's a lot of misunderstanding with this idea of seniority. Prabhupada says, Kanishtha-adhikari means he must be a Brahmana. That is Kanishtha-adhikari, the spiritual life. Kanishtha-adhikari means he must be a qualified Brahmana. That is Kanishta. What is esteemed as very high position in the material Brahmana, that is Kanishtha-adhikari. So the point is, this is from a morning walk conversation, it is not so cheap to be a devotee, to become an advanced devotee. I keep saying the more I personally study the philosophy, and more I get into the depth of this philosophy, I consider myself an aspiring devotee that someday will aspire to be a real devotee, some lifetime. That's why a lot of time I like to give that quote from King Kulashekar in the Mukundamala Stotra, where he used the word Britya 7 times. That I aspire to be the servant of the servant of the servant of your servant. Same principle as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gopi Partuhu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Nudasaha. Incidentally, in 1973, at the end of December, Guru Kripa and myself met Prabhupada in LA, and there had been some complaints about us. And basically, Prabhupada's attitude when he was analyzing and discussing the mindset of a leader, Prabhupada said, he's always trying to be number one. That is not our philosophy. Our philosophy is to become servant of the servant of the servant. And Prabhupada quoted that verse of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalaryor Dasa Dasa Anudasaha. Prabhupada says that is not Vaishnava mentality, to think I'm always got to be number one. So we have to be very careful when we analyze the mindset of different devotees. We don't want to find fault and insult people or blaspheme people. This is not what we're doing here. We're trying to analyze and discuss the philosophy, just like you very nicely analyzed the difference between a senior person by age and senior by devotional advancement. So this is a very important point. I see that our good friend Krishna Kata in San Diego is making a point. He says there are so many ways to improve our speaking to apply our philosophy. For example, we ask, how old are you? A more accurate way to ask, how old is your body? There are so many ways to preach with our speaking. Even slight modifications are preaching. My mom, for example, now says, when I leave my body, she used to say, when I die, we all know we don't die, only the body dies. I personally refer to the senior leaders as the deviated leaders, which is closer to accurate in my humble opinion. Yes, Yasoda is accurate. We are aspiring devotees. The point is, to be a real devotee, to be a pure devotee is not cheap. It is not a cheap thing. So thank you for bringing all these points, Nil Shyama Prabhu. Very important points you've raised. Hare Krishna. I wonder what Ram Raghava Prabhu would have to say in this context. Ram Raghava, would you like to give us your bhashya?
Hare Krishna.
Comment?
No, I have nothing to add. You've said it all. Just we have to be respectful. Ultimately, Lord Chaitanya said, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarurapi Sahishnana Manina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So if we just treat everyone with respect, and of course, we can recognize devotees who are advanced, and most devotees are advanced light years beyond what I have experienced.
Very good. Your sound, Vishwa. We cannot hear you, Vishwa.
Unmute me, thank you. Please keep me unmuted throughout the show. I appreciate that. Yes, this is most important, and it's by action. You're advanced by action. There was a devotee in Toronto who used to come. Actually, he was barred from the temple. His name was Mayur. And he used to come to Hamilton and do book distribution with me downtown in the mall. And he was a very, very nice devotee. Unfortunately, he was kicked out of the Toronto temple at some time in his career, and he froze to death in the park, tragically. But he was a very good devotee. So you're judged by your actions, not by your words. Words are cheap. Anybody can say anything. But if you do things, then that's different. You can't refute action. Action speaks louder than words. And when people step up and take active service in the Sankirtan movement, just like we had so many people donate money for our book publishing, yes. It wasn't so much the donation, it was the action. They made an effort. And some people gave more than others, but everybody everybody's donation was appreciated. But people that didn't donate, that spoke volumes to us, to everyone. That's natural. When you take action, you show your intent. And your intent is to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya and Śrīla Prabhupāda. So actions always speak louder than words. And acharyas always set the perfect example. So glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. We've already gone past our time, as usual. Seems that we can't stop. We could probably carry on for days and days, I know it. And someday we'll do that. But for the time being, it's Sunday at about 11:45 now. Let's see what time we're at. And it's time to wind up our program and look forward to seeing you all. And I keep mentioning, invite more people. Somehow or other, we're going to change our marketing strategies. We're going to improve our work. I had an extensive chat with Rupa Goswami this morning, and we're anxious to help him in his service because he does need help with some gear and some different tools to continue to expand what we're doing. So we're going to step up. We're going to step up and make an effort to help him. He's in Bombay and he's a very committed member of our, and let me say this, if I could, to Nilesh, a very senior devotee, Rupa Goswami, and he just was initiated a few weeks ago, and he is one of our top devotees. Glories to Śrīla Prabhupada and the Sankirtan mission. Let's go forward with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra led by Śrīla Prabhupada for 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Thank you, Ram Raghava, for that clarification.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Again, thanks everybody for managing this program and participating in this lively discussion. Thanks especially to Vishwakarma Prabhu in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, Ram Raghava Prabhu in Georgia, Rochisa Devidasi in Montreal, Canada, Vijay Pandit in Douaeville, Italy, and everybody participating, especially Rupa Goswami Prabhu from India, and our one and only Krishna Kata from San Diego, California, and his wonderful service in arranging for the publication of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, just like behind Ram Raghava Prabhu's head, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is displayed. The printing is moving forward. We are moving forward, and we will all keep you informed of the developments. Again, please join us on Thursday afternoon at 5:00 p.m. for the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita reading and continuation of these lively discussions. Hare Krishna, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.